This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
What's up, everybody? Ricky Widmer here, along with the one, the only, Brandon Swanson.
Hey.
And we are back. We took a week off because, let's be honest, Brandon, after we recorded our big board last week, I completely forgot that we talk baseball now. So I forgot to come up with a topic last week. That was the next day, and I was like, oh, crap, we forgot to do a baseball segment. But we are back, and Patrick's going to join us next week, and he's going to be on to talk about free agency for baseball. But what we're looking at here, Brandon, is the Chicago Cubs making a splash this Saturday, signing Yu Darvish to a 6-year deal and worth $126 million. However, there's performance clauses that could push that up to $150 million over 6 years. However, there is an opt-out clause. I believe that opt-out is after 2 years for the Cubs. And I want to say the SB Nation article does not have it, but I think there's a no trade provision in there as well. So, Brandon, the Cubs now have a starting rotation as of right now. No particular order. This is just how I would line them up, of John Lester, Kyle Hendricks, Jose Quintana, Yu Darvish, and Chatwood are the 5 starters that we have. What does this signing mean for the Cubs in 2018?
I think that was stupid.
Really?
Yes.
Why?
You paid a guy 6 years, $126 million with a possible $150 million to be your 4th starter. That is dumb as hell. Dumb as hell.
Why? Why is it dumb as hell?
Because
the Yankees did it and they won championships.
That's the Yankees, buddy. I think it's because every team has this whole we have got to throw everything we've got at teams, and it's based off of what the Yankees do. They throw just jillions and jillions of dollars at people, and no, they're going to come. They're going to play for the Yankees. The Cubs also have that same kind of luster. We're the Chicago Cubs, but I think it's silly. I think it's really silly, and the reason being is because there's such a risk with Yu Darvish. We've seen how terrible he can be in the postseason. Awful. Absolutely awful. When you need the guy to just show up for you, he can't do it. And what about his Tommy John surgeries? What about the fact that this guy at any point could just, there's shoulder soreness. We know what that means. He's going to be out a while. Oh, now he's coming back. He throws. He does 5 innings. No good. All right? He's on the shelf. He's got to have surgery again. And you've lost him for the rest of that year. You got a nasty year, a pretty bad year out of him. You could potentially lose him for the next year. He's not right. He's not what he used to be. And he's right now not what he used to be. And, I mean, I think he's still the pitcher who has the lead league in strikeouts per 9 innings with like 11 or something ridiculous like that. But that's not this guy. That was that guy. You paid for this guy. Well, you paid for that guy, but you got this one. That's what happens. You know, and the Chicago Cubs, I get it. They're still in this win now. We've got everybody. We've got to win now. I get it. I get the mode that the Cubs are in. But I just think it's an awful signing. I'm a White Sox fan. I don't hide that. If the White Sox signed him, I'd be really uber pissed. 1, because you don't sign some guy like that when you're in a rebuild. And 2, because it doesn't make sense. People are saying, and I think Kyle Schwarber was one of the guys that said, this is the cherry on top for the Cubs. No, Kyle, it's not. The only way that it becomes the cherry on top is if he actually performs. And right now, you paid a guy $126, possibly $150 million to be your 4th starter. I find that to be a little silly. Also, I understand that there's an opt-out clause in year 2 of this contract.
Well, and what I was going to say is...
So that's a good thing, but the Chicago Cubs, I get it, but this was This is not the move I would have made.
I think that now the last thing you said, this is not the move I would have made. That I think, okay, you're great to say that, but I kind of think maybe overreacting a bit with this is a stupid move.
Nope.
Because how I look at it, and me being a Cubs fan, I can give the perspective of first off, SB Nation linked a tweet that they had that I think it was Jerry Krasick. My computer just dead, so I can't have that name for you. But what it said was a source close to him said that the opt-out is less than 3, which would make him assume that it's a 2-year opt-out. And let's say it is a 2-year opt-out, and that's what we're going with. That means basically, like, if I see a team put that in there, we're not expecting you to last all 6 years. And this is a contract for me that, like, you can say, oh, well, you're paying him this much money to be your 4th starter. Great, we're paying him that much money to be our 4th starter, because what have we seen in the playoffs? We have seen in the playoffs now that pitching wins you championships. Pitchings get you to the World Series. Look at the Dodgers against the Cubs this past year. They had the better rotation. They had the better bullpen. They went ahead and got to the World Series. The year before, what did the Cubs do? The Cubs went ahead and made a deal that some could say very stupid. Hey, we're going to give the Yankees prospects to get Aroldis Chapman onto this team. He only stayed a year, went back to the Yankees. So basically, you can look at it and say, oh, we gave you prospects, but you got to keep Chapman at the end of the year. We just rented him for half a year. And the goal right now for the Cubs is, like you said, we're in win now mode. We have to win World Series. And the thing that I think you can also look at it as is maybe this could be seen as a little bit of hitting the panic button, but because of what the Dodgers were last year, and the Dodgers really, to me, don't look like they're going to be anything less than they were last year. Like, I expect the Dodgers to win the West, get back to the League Championship Series, and meet the Cubs again. That's what I'm thinking right now. Cubs, Dodgers, NLCS, which one's going to win it this time is basically how I'm looking at it. And this was basically a deal that I feel like the Cubs had to make because, one, it gives us options in the playoffs to have an arm. Let's say in the playoffs we use him as a 4th starter. What if we need him to come out of the bullpen? I know that he had bad starts in the playoffs last year, but how many times have you seen guys turn it around? How many times have you seen guys work with a different pitching staff and be able to turn it around? It's not going to be the exact same thing. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be all roses and he's just going to, boom, magically turn everything around. But I think also a little part of it was also we can't allow this guy to go to the Brewers. After the Brewers get Kane and Yelich, like we talked about 2 weeks ago, if they would have gotten a guy like Yu Darvish, that would have put some major pressure on the Cubs as well. Because it's like, great, now we have even more of a threat in the Brewers across the way. This makes the Cubs competitive. It gives them options for their rotation if it stays healthy in the playoffs. And it puts a little pressure, I would say, on teams like the Brewers, who now lose out on Yu Darvish, and the Cardinals. I feel like now the Cardinals might have to sit there and go, crap, we might have to make one more move. We might have to add one more piece because the Cubs just got a guy in Yu Darvish that on his best day, and I know, Brandon, it's, on his best day you get this, on the worst day you get what was in the playoffs, but on his best day, this is a guy that could be an ace for numerous other teams in the MLB.
Why did it take the Cubs so long to sign him then? Why didn't, if the Cubs really wanted Yu Darvish from the get, is it because they just wanted to wait so long to see if Arrieta would come back?
It could have been.
Or is it they really didn't want Yu Darvish, but believed they had to get him once supposedly Arrieta rejected their big offer to him. And on that, it's, well, guess we'll take the sloppy seconds. Because I think that the best years, truly, actually, here's my thought, is that the best years for Arrieta and Darvish are both behind them. The best years are done. You're not going to get what you got at the beginning. Well, you probably don't want what you got at the beginning of Jake Arrieta's career because it wasn't good. But
not Orioles.
No,
we'll take after we got him from the Orioles.
Yes, but honestly, he may be, and he will probably go to some team, and they'll want him to be their number 1 or their number 2, and he may be good, but he's not going to be. I don't think what and talking about Jake Arrieta right now, what he was for the Cubs. What was it 2 years ago when they won the World Series, and even maybe the year before that, because didn't they have him the year before that?
Yeah,
as
and he had that wild card. He had that wild card performance against the Pirates where he pitched out of his mind. That was the year we went to the LCS against the Mets and got swept.
Exactly. So I think that the good years are behind. The really good years are behind both of these pitchers. Again, and maybe the Cubs do make Yu Darvish their number 1. But right now, I would be putting him at your number 4. If that's what you were looking for, why didn't you just go after Lance Lynn? He would have been cheaper. And Lance Lynn, I mean, still a quality starter. Quality starter. Probably Lance Lynn probably better than a number 4, but you'd be putting him at your number 4.
Now, if we got Lance Lynn or like Alex Cobb is another name that we mentioned in old segments that we've talked about with free agency pitchers, I wouldn't have been mad at that. But I feel like there's many different things that probably went into us. The first thing was I think the Cubs were looking at it and going, you know what? We don't have to go for a Darvish. We know what we have in Jake Arrieta. Let's try to bring him back. Okay, Jake, here's our offer. Jake says no. As soon as that happened, all right, Jake, we're going to let you hear out offers. Let's see how it's going. Another piece to the puzzle, and whether you think this is good or bad, I think the Brewer offer played a little bit into it because the Brewers only offered 5 years. Because if you look at the deals, drastically different. The Brewers was $80 million for 5 years, whereas the Cubs is $125 million for an extra year on top of that. However, I believe they put in the 2-year option to save themselves to where it's like, hey, you know what? Let's say it doesn't work out after 2 years. We can cut this, lose our ties, and we don't have an Alfonso Soriano situation where we're keeping on to a contract longer than we have to. Back in the days of the Cubs where it's like, man, one of these guys that are not playing dividends just going to be off the book. So this is all a deal, like it or not, and you're either on one side of the fence or not. This is to me, it's a 2018 deal. Let's win the World Series in 2018. After 2018, then we'll look at it. Let's be completely honest. They could go through this year, go to the LCS, lose in the LCS, and you know what they could also do? They could then trade them. There would be teams that would take Yu Darvish if the Cubs traded him after 2018. There would be teams that would take him just because they need a pitcher like that on their rotation in their staff, or just to say, hey, you know what, we got the room. We need to sell tickets. Let's bring in an arm like Yu Darvish, whether or not you think he is like a Jake Arrieta and might be past the prime heading down the hill. So, I mean, I don't think this is a, oh my God, the sky is falling move by the Cubs. But to me, I saw this of like, we're pushing the chips to the center. We are going all in on this. We're going back to the World Series because I'll be completely honest, and I've said it before, like this team with the window that we were talking about the Cubs having for World Series, I said about two to three World Series, probably 2. If you win 2, okay, cool. We got the least out of these group of players that we could have. After last year, Theo and Jed and the guys were probably like, we can't have more seasons like this. We can't be that team where it's like, wow, you had so much talent. Yeah, you won that World Series in, 2016. But how many LCSs did you go to? And you got swept by the Mets, and you lost to the Dodgers this many times. And then, oh, look at the Cardinals and the Brewers. You didn't even win the division this year. This was a move that I think the Cubs felt like they had to make to stay competitive, not just in their own division, but push them over to get them back into the big stage in October.
Well, I don't think that Yu Darvish is going to be the guy that wins you a World Series. I don't. because of what history has showed and how he has pitched when it comes down to crunch time for the World Series. I mean, last year is just a perfect example of a guy I wouldn't want pitching for me when it came down to it. And I get it. I know you've said it. Everyone has their bad days. Everyone has their bad series. I completely get it. At that point, you have about nothing left in the tank, but you're being asked to go out there and pitch like you have 100%. I get it. It's hard. It's tough. But you need the guys. When you need the guy at that point, when you need to rely on him, you need to rely on him. And he needs to know that. But here's the other thing, too, is that with Yu Darvish, what I think we're seeing is some wear and some tear. And that's not just from, his surgery with the Tommy John, but so many innings that he had been asked to pitch with the Texas Rangers. So many innings in 30, plus starts every season, being called upon to go deep into games, 8 innings, 7 innings, 9 innings. That wears on you. That wears on you as a pitcher. Even if it is every 5th day that you're going out there, there's a reason it's every 5th day. Your arm would fall off if you were going out there pitching that every day or even 2 days in a row. That is why I look at Yu Darvish and I think the Cubs got scared and they made a huge deal to try and get Darvish. They got scared. They saw, that there, what was happening with the market? Nothing. There had been no movement in free agency for now weeks, it feels like. And they got scared because the Brewers were there. Somebody else was there. They saw the Brewers getting better. And they saw that they were just kind of staying stagnant. They had gone for Brandon Morrow and Steve Cishek and, guys like that. But nothing that was going to throw them over the top. But
that's what this could do, is throw them over the top.
But let me tell you, and I can say this as a Chicago White Sox fan, it wasn't in 2005, the big splash deal that we went out and made. It was Scott Podsednik. It was A.J. Pierzynski. It was Joe Creedy. It was, oh gosh, I can't think of his name, but I can picture his face right now. No, I can't think of his name. I can picture his face. I think he was a infielder, like a utility guy. Anyways, a utility guy. I'll say that, utility guy. That's what pushed the White Sox over the top in 2005. Not some big splash deal. That's where I think the Cubs have gone wrong here, is that they believe, as they've fallen into the whole, the New York Yankees, we have the money, so let's spend it all. This will not. Well,
and just to go on, like the 2005 Sox and the 2017 Cubs, completely different, not organizations, but completely different situations, because I look at last year for the Cubs and our pitching wasn't like it used to be.
Ross Glode. That was another guy.
Like, our pitching wasn't what it used to be. Our bullpen was crap. Our John Lackey was basically useless in the playoffs, which basically maybe that's why I'm not like the sky is falling with this, is because, hey, can you be better than bum-ass old Lackey out there? Can you be better than that in the playoffs? Good. I'll take that. Lackey wasn't good. Arrieta wasn't like what we were used to seeing. It was basically Lester Hendricks and then Quintana out there, but the whole pitching staff wasn't anywhere near what we wanted. And then we ran into, because I'll be completely honest, in the National Series, some could say, if someone came up to me and said the Cubs got lucky in that series, I would go, you could be right. You could be right. We could be seen as getting lucky in that series because the Nationals kind of pooped that one away. But then we ran into the Dodgers, and we were not beating the Dodgers. There was no way we were going to beat the Dodgers 4 out of 7 times, mainly because of that bullpen. That bullpen was really, really good and could close the door each and every night. The thing I wanted to throw out to you, here's the question I wanted to say, is going back to Darvish. So you think about, first off, the usage. I think I would assume that Joe Madden and the guys will better use him. And plus, if you've got a team like the Cubs have, if we go back to how we were last year, was kind of an anomaly because we had the World Series hangover that people kept talking about. And even Joe Madden was like, yeah, it's a real thing. If we go back to just not having that over our heads, 2016 in the regular season, we were winning a lot of games by like, wow, 10-2, 10-4, this to that. If we get a lot of those, it's like, all right, you're done after 5. You're done. Like, we don't need you to go complete games. Like, we're not in that kind of we're not into, hey, go a complete 9 for us. Like, all right, you're done after 6. Like, okay, you got the quality start. All right, hit the showers, let the bullpen have it because we're up 10-2 to the Cincinnati Reds, and we don't need to blow your arm in this game. The big thing I wanted to ask you, though, with him is a mindset thing. So he's on the Rangers at the beginning of the year. Rangers aren't going anywhere. Rangers aren't going to make the... Like, beginning of the year, who was saying Texas Rangers are going to be not just a playoff team, but a World Series team? Nobody. Nobody was saying the Rangers. So I could see him like, I'm on the Rangers, whatever. I'll go out there and pitch. I'll try to do my best. But we're not going to go anywhere. And then halfway through the season, you're thrown onto a team. And I get how people will be like, but Ricky, you're thrown onto a playoff team. You should automatically be energized. But what if it was just the mental flip couldn't be turned on to where it was like that, oh, I'm in the Rangers and then you're turned into that playoff mode, whereas with the Cubs, it's going to be, this is our expectation, and you're in that mode all season because you kind of expect it, and nobody expects the Cubs to miss the playoffs next year.
Well, I can actually put that argument to bed right away because when he first got to the Dodgers, his first 2 or 3 games, boom, lights out, 10 strikeouts, 10 strikeouts, 8 strikeouts. It's when teams finally started to feel him out and get a sense of what he was doing, that he started to struggle. So those first couple of games when he was with the Dodgers, it was great. It was like I expected it would be.
The National League's not used to seeing him either. Like, that's another thing I would put into little bit of it.
But when they finally figured it out, it was much more difficult. You weren't seeing Yu Darvish go, the 7 innings, 7 to 9 innings. It was 5, 3, 5. I mean, when you can't pitch terribly well against the San Diego Padres, watch out.
And the one thing I want to throw out to you is I was talking to a good friend of ours, Greg, who's also a Cubs fan, and he had mentioned to Sean and I that, one of the big things, especially in the playoffs for Yu Darvish, was that I guess that Yu was tipping his pitches a little bit. And it's like, you know what? That's something, he's like, I'm not worried about that, because that's something the coaching staff just works on you with and says, hey, don't fucking do that. Do this, do that. Is a little bit of that. I mean, of course, a big chunk of it is on Yu Darvish, but could some of his struggles in the playoffs be thrown onto the coaching staff, the pitching staff, I'll say, for the Dodgers? I don't want to say the right things, but not making the right choices, making the right changes when it comes to Yu when he was starting to struggle, even if it's something to where it's like, hey, you're tipping your pitches and not catching that to change it before his next start.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know if he was tipping his pitches or not. I mean, I think the guys they kind of knew what was coming, and that's not necessarily from tipping pitches. That's just because you're throwing the same stuff over and over, and you know what to look for.
Plus, the Astros were on a roll last year.
They were on a roll. I mean, they were hot. The Astros were a hot team throughout the season, and then they were hot when it counted. But I think that with Yu Darvish and with the coaching staff, I guess when we all look at our own teams, we all think, why can you not fix this guy? He's struggling right now. Why can the coaching staff not just say, okay, do this, it will be better. Throw it like this, throw it like that. Don't take as much time in between pitches. Anything. It's not that easy. We've all seen it. It's not that easy.
Easier said than done.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The pitcher's also going out there thinking, I'm doing what they're telling me to do. I'm trying to fix that. And sometimes it's just a phase that you've got to go through, and you're in a slump. I mean, that is a slump. You've got to get out of it.
Mental, because I know that I'm not talking about. I've never pitched in the MLB, but I'll even go
close
back
to though.
Well, I'll even go back to my little league days when I'd be pitching, to where it's like there would be some games where it's like, God, I can't fucking find the strike zone today. And then it's like the more you think about it, and the more you try to you're thinking about it, and then you're trying to zero in on that glove, and you're not hitting.
Well, because
and
then you're aiming. Because then it's you're no longer throwing it. You're trying to aim to find the strike zone, and the more you aim, the worse you are. You just gotta go out there and throw it and trust your pitch. But I've been right there with you. But it's the fact that it's not always, it's obviously not that simple as we've talked about. But I just think to really kind of wrap it up is that the Cubs, they've shown a little bit of desperation by going out there and getting Yu Darvish. And one, I think that says something about the Chicago Cubs, that they're not exactly confident where they were, which is why I don't see Yu Darvish coming over as being here's our savior. This guy's going to get us over the top. I think that the Cubs are a little bit more nervous now because I think that they see the Milwaukee Brewers possibly being a little bit better than them.
Well, the thing is, I'm not going to say you're all wrong there. I'm just going to say the fact of, if I can pay Yu Darvish to be on my team rather than have him play for the Brewers, I'll go ahead and have him on my team to make them worse. That offer, I will say, did play into this. But the main thing I would say from what you said is what changed was the Dodgers. The Dodgers because the Dodgers weren't what they were last year in 2016. 2017, they turned it. They turned it on. And as a Cub fan...
The Dodgers?
Yeah, the Dodgers last year turned it on, especially in the NL side of it. Like how many games they won last year and how much of a tear they were on last year compared to 2016.
Aren't they always on a tear?
No, but I'm saying even more so. They turned it up all the way to 11, and that's what I think scared the Cubs in the end to compete with them in the NL side of the bracket. But the last thing I do want to ask you has to do with nobody that we talked about today. I'm bringing this team into it. Based off of the Yu Darvish thing, this is what will end the podcast. Yu Darvish goes to the Cubs. What do the Nationals do now? What does this mean for the Nationals? Now they have to go and do something to bolster them, because now you've got arguably the Cubs and the Dodgers in no particular order at the top, and the Nationals are now trying to fight to get there as well, because they could have been in the LCS, lost to the Cubs, and now you see the Cubs get better, and the Dodgers, like I said, looks like they're staying the same from what they had last year, except for Yu Darvish.
No, there's nothing I see that the Washington Nationals need to do. I mean, I like their pitching rotation. I like who they have in their bullpen. I like the way that their starting lineup is. Defensively, I like it. They're going to get Adam Eaton back, because remember, they traded for Adam Eaton, and then he got hurt, almost right away.
Yeah.
And when that happened, I was like, whew. Thank goodness we got rid of him when we did, and we could get some good stuff back from him. But no, the Washington Nationals don't need to do anything.
I'll ask you this then. Throwing injuries out of the way, of course they're going to happen, but an all-healthy roster for both the Cubs and the Dodgers, if either of those two teams had to play the Nationals in the DS series, the NLDS, do the Nationals get through either of them, or is it Cubs-Dodgers again in the NLCS?
Are you saying
completely healthy teams, both sides, all three of them? Do the Nationals have any spot, if they stay the same, don't make any more moves, do they have a shot to beat either this Cubs team or this Dodgers team with the rosters as they are right now?
Actually, I think they could beat both of them.
Really?
Yeah, I like the Nationals.
Wow.
I'm high on the Nationals. I was high on the Nationals this past year. I thought they would beat the Cubs, and then I thought that they'd have a date with the Dodgers. But the Nationals are a very good team. They're a very strong team. If nothing else, I could see them maybe wanting to add another starter, but a fourth starter. I mean, their top three starters are really good with Scherzer, with Strasburg, and with Gonzalez. and even Tanner Roark, is not bad. I mean,
Former Illini.
you could do worse. But I think the Washington Nationals are in a really good spot. Again, you get Adam Eaton back. You've got Trey Turner. Of course, you've got Bryce Harper with what Ryan Zimmerman did last year. You've got Wieters behind the plate. You've got Murphy. You've got Tate. I mean, I know I just kind of went through and named who they have at their starting positions, but this is a lineup that I would not want to be dealing with. They're very good. It's not luck that the Cubs won, but it's, who got it this time? It was the Cubs. Who get it next time? The Nationals. It's kind of one of those things where Washington is darn good, and I'd be watching out for them if I was in the National League.
Well, I will say this right now. If I had to make a prediction, as the camera shuts out, you're seeing our MVP logo, I would go ahead and give the nod to the Cubs and Dodgers to meet in the LCS right now.
That's so sickening. Of course you would.
But we are going to make our predictions later when we get closer to the season. I want to thank you guys for watching and or listening. Let us know what you guys think of the Yu Darvish signing and what it means for the Cubs, the Dodgers, the Nationals, anything down below in that comment section. Thank you guys for watching and listening, and as always, have a good day, everybody.